Good evening, everybody. I'm Sherry Hoover, and I'm here tonight to do a presentation. I'm a horticultural judge, consulting Rosarian, and on my way to be a ranger judge. I'm also studying to be a National Garden Club judge also. So Charlotte and I have been talking, and I think arrangements kind of scare people. It seems overwhelming. But arrangement is something that you could do ahead a day or two and maybe make the frame of it, stick it in the refrigerator in a cool place, and then add the roses maybe the night before or the day before. Because as we were talking, when you use Oasis, which I have the black, which they say is more biodegradable, because the green they say is not biodegradable at all, and it blends into your pots a lot better. It doesn't look so green, but of course this one is more expensive. You have to go to like a floral thing or order it online. But if you want to get, but I want to try to take some of the mystery out of it and kind of show you how to do this very simply. Now, when I made the rose schedule this year, which we'll probably have it next year, I did a couple of arrangements where you just use some plant material in just one rose. And I want to show you some of those designs too. But I want to show you how easy it is. You can buy one brick of what they call this Oasis at Hobby Lobby. I looked at the Dollar Tree, and they used to have it at the 99-cent store, but they didn't have it. Make sure when you buy it, you get the wet. Because when you go to the Dollar Tree and even when you go to Hobby Lobby, they'll have dry Oasis, it'll say dry on it. You want the one that says wet, the green one that says wet. And you can just buy one or two bricks, but I would say get a couple bricks. because it's always good to practice a few times before you actually put it together. Okay, so you got your oasis. You need to soak this in water, probably a couple hours. You kind of submerge it in like a bucket, and the bubbles will come out and all that stuff, and you get it really, really soaked. And then you get your roses ready, and I always use this. You can get this in the powder or in the liquid. I prefer the liquid because it's just easier to use. This keeps your roses, it goes into the membranes. This is what someone explained it to me, but I'm not a biologist. It goes into the membranes of the rose, and it locks the moisture in. Because when you put your roses into this oasis, it locks the cells, because the stuff gets clogged up and it clogs up. So if you do put your roses in the night before or the morning before you put them in this, they'll absorb some of that, and I think it will make it last a little bit longer. Is it perfect? No. But, it's helpful, I think. So you start out with a little oasis, and you put it into your container. And you might want to do a traditional, or you might want to do a modern. Now, the handout that I gave you is, that I made up, is kind of, people get kind of confused about what's a traditional design and what's a modern design. So here's some kind of easy tips and tricks, I thought, to kind of tell you what a traditional is compared to what a modern design is. So a traditional design is with a lot and has a lot of foliage, such as this. And I'm going to make this one into a line, traditional line. It has a lot of foliage, and it has smaller. See how the smaller the leaves are, the smaller. We call it kind of like foo-foo. And modern is less material and more simplified type foliage. Actually, I don't have a lot of foliage at my house, so I use this. You probably should. This is a little bit too foo-foo. What I like to use for modern designs is Aurelia, which this is the variegated, but there's the plain, it's Aurelia. Or I like to use, you can use camellia leaves. They're shiny, they're straight, they're flat, they're not all foofy. Now you wouldn't use Ming fern you don't see it too much in a modern because it is, see how it is? It's tiny. It's foo-foo, we call it foo-foo-y, So you want it more straight, yeah. So this, I didn't have stuff to cover the oasis, but you need to cover all your oasis. So I kind of do that, and I put some in, and then I go back and make sure. This one's not done that great because you can still see a little bit, but if I was going to do it for a show. And you kind of have it go over the edge a little bit, like if I had more of it, I'd put it like this, so it would cover up all this edge. You don't want to see that. Because it's called to humiliate the container. And when you humiliate the container, you soften it. So you don't have to see this edge. The judges don't like to see a rough edge. They want to see, a softer thing. So when you put it down over it and put it through here and stuff, you don't see the edge. So it softens it. So, let's get started on the One Rose Wonder. You can do a lot of stuff with just a little bit of stuff. You don't have to be like me and have a room full of stuff. You can get a few things and make a beautiful design. Take, for example, this palm frond. This fell out of a tree during a storm. And what we call in the floral business, or in the floral guild that I'm president of, we call it road siding. If you stop by the road and you see a twig or a big branch or some kind of thing on a garbage pile, it's a whole bunch of wire or some kind of weird styrofoam or something. Well, we stop our cars and we go in and get it. It's called roadside. Now this I found one day after a big storm, that, you know, it was just laid in the street. And I said, oh man, that's a really cool piece. I picked it up and took it home.
And so this would be always a modern design using something like this?
Yes.
A roadside what?
Roadside.
Roadside.
Yeah, roadside, it's called. So
Roadside.
it's by the road, you pick it up, it's by the road, or you might see some kind of really cool plant, and it's just like in landscaping, so it's not like anybody's front yard, and you have clippers in your car, and you just, this is how we roll. So it's called roadside. So this is the thing. So what I did is I put it just in this plain. Now I get a lot of my, I know I have fancier ones, but some of them I just buy at the floral supply, or, you know, the best thing is to go and get it. Just go, you have to go several times, but go to the, you know, donation sites, and you can find some really cool ones. Remember when Louise found that really cool one that one year?
Yeah, that was
Oh,
gorgeous.
it was gorgeous. But, you know,
But
you have to.
yeah, you gotta look.
You gotta look. So the roses, you know, we didn't have a lot to choose from because we all cut back. But I'll show you how. This one has a button. So this would be like one rose. This is Princess Diane. What do you call it, Diane? Princess of Wales.
Yeah, Diana, Princess of Wales.
I'm not good at doing this from the back. I'm not experienced.
Okay, I see.
You kind of want it to, you want your roses usually to kind of face towards the judges, especially when it's the perfect rose. Now, I have been told by several people who do not do arrangements and do not have their judgeship and all that stuff, and people have told me, and this is not true, that the roses don't have to be as nice. They don't have to be, has to be as nice to do arrangements. That is not true. Arrangements, 30 points is the rose itself. Another 30 points is the design. So is the design a modern? Is it, you know, it's the quality of the design. And the rose is still 30 points. So that's why sometimes I don't enter into horticulture, because I'm using all my best roses and several of them to bring my arrangements to life. So you'd have something like this, and then, like I said, I just have these. I would probably put, this is the variegated one. There's plain green ones, but I don't have them.
So you would put that in the face, just hide their laces.
And I might also on modern, it's always good if you can manipulate the leaf. That's part of it. So sometimes I'll cut off the tips like this, and it's called leaf manipulation, and just like that. So I want it to kind of come to the oasis, but I want it to kind of come out. I'd have several of these, and I might put this one in the back. When you put stuff in the back, it makes it be three-dimensional, not so flat. And a lot of times, you'll have and how you can tell I would have more of these. I have a little small plant now. This plant gets pretty big, but you could grow it in a pot. But I would cover this, that I have more small ones like this. But see how, and I would, if I cut these ones, I would cut all these. You need to make it match.
Be
So I,
consistent.
yeah.
Already looks good.
See how, you see how putting the one behind it gives it more of that 3D
It
look?
actually makes the road stand out
Wow,
more.
Mark, right? So you
Otherwise,
can,
it's just in space. Now it defines it more.
exactly. And I might take, there's a lot of leaves on this. This is like a little bit too many. Yeah, see how that touches too much? You want it to be thin, but I might take up. But be careful about cutting because you can't paste it. But are you going to get in the idea? You put some leaves around here or camellia leaves or something and add these. The accent. So you just have a little. And sometimes it's good to not always put the base or the container straight because look at this. Now look at this. How different that makes it just by turning it.
Okay.
So that's how you can just make a one rose and something you found off the side of the road in a container. Of course, you'd want that rose to be the absolute peak of perfection. So here's another idea. Is this is just a piece of wood.
Are the roses judged like horticulture? In other words, like if they were looking for a Queen of Show hybrid tea, and you were using hybrid teas, are they looking for that type of a look in the rose? Versus this one's pretty open.
Yeah, they are and especially the best to show. But when you're making something more elaborate than that, and you have several ones, you're going to have in gradation. So you're going to have maybe a kind of a fully open one in the big, or not quite maybe fully open, depending on the rose, whatever. With a big one that's open, and then you're going to have smaller, and then you're going to have that. Okay, so like this one, when I bring that one up, that one at the top should probably have a smaller rose hook, since I had to, because I had to buy some roses in order to make this stuff. Then yeah, you'd probably want that one, especially when you're doing one rose only. You'd want it at the professional peak of perfection. I think, from what I see with the judges and myself, we do it overall. If the roses are really, in the leaves, and they didn't clean them off, they didn't wipe them off, and they have bugs on them, or they have brown edges, it's kind of the overall. So every rose doesn't have to be the horticulture thing, because they're going to be different gradations of roses. But they have to be good roses. The foliage has to be clean. And if you were doing a one rose thing, I would take one that was probably horticulturally a 90.
If you had one rose, you wanted a fairly big one that's
Yes.
pretty much open, like some roses, they just have more.
Well, you always have to remember scale and proportion, and I think we get more into that. It's supposed to be 1/3, 2/3. Okay? So when you're a novice, you measure this across how the width and the height, put that together, and let's say that's like 10 inches, then you want to be up, 20 inches. Well, your arrangement to be 20 inches to be proportional. Okay? And then there's another trick that I do, a trick or something that will help you. You don't want something to be too dominant. You want the rose to be the masterpiece or your centerpiece of what your design is. You do not want the container to be the thing. That's why you humiliate it. And what you do is, judges judge the arrangements 3 feet from it. They're supposed to stand 3 foot in front of it and judge it like that. So that's how you make your thing. When you want to look at it, you make your design, and then you turn around like this, close your eyes for like 5 seconds so you kind of clear your mind, and then turn around and look at it and think to yourself, what's the first thing I see? You want to make sure you see the roses. So if it's something else is too dominant, then you either want to humiliate it or take it out. Maybe you have too much stuff. Another good way, honestly, too, is take a picture of it. A lot of times you can see things that you don't see with your own eyes. You can see how flat it is, how this color or this thing's a little bit off. It needs, you can just see things. So take multiple pictures of it. Sometimes what I do when I'm practicing, I wait till the next day and look at it again. Because then I go, oh yeah, that's just not quite right. But that's me. So that's your one more look. So this one, I have this little kind of Asian inspired plastic dish. I have a Kenzen or a frog glued down here, just like this one. Here. I found this piece of wood found on the beach one day, just walking, and I thought it was really cool. Roadside, yeah.
Oceanside, yeah.
Oceanside, yeah. And what did you say this one was?
That is Desperado.
So you'd be cutting these underwater. For tonight, kind of hard, but you'd be cutting them on underwater. I always say cut less. Less is more. Because if you cut too, it's the perfect rose. And you cut it too small, it's hard to do that. Okay, lean it towards the judges. Too much. If that was imperfect,
It was perfect when cut.
cut it.
When do you use oasis and when do you use a frog?
If you're going to put a lot of stuff, it's probably good to have oasis. If you're going to put like a lot of stuff, sticking a lot of stuff, if you're going to put very few, you can get away with it like this. No, I don't know if I would put very much. I might just go like this.
Yeah, I'm thinking that's
I just don't think it needs anything more. Because always, especially modern, it's like putting all your jewelry on, like all your bangles, and then taking a few off. Because in modern, less is better. Always people, and myself, I do the same thing. I go, I'm foo-fooing with it. Oh, it needs one here, it needs one here. Pretty soon I have all this stuff going like this. And you don't have the line, and you have too much.
So in this second arrangement, you don't have to humiliate
Well,
the
you
pot?
are a little bit, because this kind of goes over the top, and it's just super simple. I think if you put too much, I think
would
it
detract.
you distract from it.
Because to me, I see the black below, but it's really the wood that's where it starts.
Yeah. I don't know. I wouldn't do anything with that if I was making it.
But don't you have to tie the frog?
So, do you see the frog? If you stand 3 feet in front of it, I don't see the frog. So
The judges don't go in the back?
you can't. The protocol for judging It's different than horticulture. They're not supposed to go, I see them do it, but that's not the way you're supposed to do it, okay? If they go like, oh, is that really, what's this rose?
Desperado.
Desperado? Oh, is that Desperado? I'm not sure. They're really not supposed to do it. Really, the protocol for being a judge is to stand 3 foot in front of it and you judge it. And you're supposed to first look and see, is it the design it's supposed to be? Is it a modern design? Is this a traditional design? If it's not, then you take some points off right at the beginning. Then you go for the rose. I do also see judges sometimes, oh, look at the rose first. You're supposed to judge the design first, and then judge the rose. The rose is like kind of like the coup d'etat, right? Are the roses in good shape? The same time. So that's that one.
So I have a quick question then. If this was an oriental design and the water's supposed to show, then they have to see the water from 3 feet away. Then, right? Would that be
Yeah, if
true?
you do a longer one, you wouldn't, because this is like covering, you know.
Okay, that's okay.
I got a question for you. That rose is as tall as the wood piece. Why didn't you nestle it to have the wood and then the rose and then why is it the?
Because I think that this is big and bulky,
Oh.
and I wanted to kind of almost maybe humiliate this a little
Oh.
bit and cover it, because I want the rose to be the dominant thing. I don't want this to show
Okay,
up.
so if you put the rose smaller, then the wood would have been more
The wood,
dominant.
okay,
I
okay,
got
so look at this.
I see it. I
You
see
see?
it. I see it.
So you kind of want it there, but you don't want it, because it's really fat and big. So I think, well, that's how I rule.
Okay.
Okay.
That's a good answer.
Yeah.
So this
The
is
other one was smaller.
another modern design. And I did a whole workshop with just, this is a kiwi branch. You can buy them at Hobby Lobby. They come in a little pack. They're all different things. They're kind of cool. You can probably even do one rose wonder with one of these too, probably. But I did a whole beginner workshop. We have at the Guild twice a year. We have these really great beginning workshops. They're $30. The one this year, and I'm teaching, is October 20th, and it's $30. You have to pay in advance, and it's on a Wednesday. And we give you all for $30. We give you all the materials. We give everybody the same exact materials. And it's really cool to see all the different ways somebody will put together something. So this is just a kiwi piece that I stuck into Oasis. I also, I put a brace on it because it kept falling over. There's a stick right here that's tied across it so it stabilizes it. It's a little bit better. And this is wire. It comes in a big roll. You can buy it you can buy it online, or you can buy it at my Michael's or whatever. You can also use this for the transparency, because see, you can see it through it. So chicken wire. So I just bought, it comes in all different colors, and I kind of like this rust one because it kind of goes with the flax. And then of course, you know, flax comes in every color. You know, this is the really pretty one with the pink edges. So it would go really good with pink roses. It also goes really good with my favorite rose is Gemini, because it has that, you know, the color that's on there. So I had to cheat because no one has any roses, and not very many. I had to get these. Get these florist ones. And we know we cannot ever use florist roses in the competition. So our roses are like, they would be different gradations, you know, like this one.
We'll just pretend this is Del Reese or something like that.
Yeah.
What rose would that be in our garden? What rose would that be in our garden, that color?
Veterans Honor.
That's red. That's
Yes.
more like hot princess.
Or like.
This is like
Yeah,
hot princess.
princess, yeah.
I think, yeah, more like that color.
But it looks kind of reddish.
Oh,
It looks kind of pink to me.
It looks like fuchsia.
yep.
Yeah, I agree with that. Really pretty color.
Yeah, to me it looks like Veterans Honor.
No, it doesn't.
But, I mean the color. But you're right, hot princess is better.
Uh-huh.
match.
I can't stand behind yet and do that fancy stuff. Someday.
You just know where to put it, I can tell.
Well, I might have done this before,
Oh,
but not for like 2 years.
I know, we're all getting rusty.
Now, you're just picking most of those foliage off.
So in this case.
Because this is a modern.
Modern doesn't make the
Oh,
color.
I don't need that much foliage.
Very
You want the lines. It's really important to have a good, it doesn't have to be straight line. It could be like this. And odd numbers. 3 roses, 5 roses, 1 rose, 2 or 4, not so much. And so of course I would have more of this. And I really like rose hips, especially in the, but just be careful not to put too many because they are foo-foo-ish. So they're better, they can go in modern, but don't make them so they're like, and too many of them. Maybe just have a little cluster. I probably put another one right here, a little cluster. And I would try to find, I was over Baldo's picking through his today. So I would probably use the ones, you know the one, these ones are a little kind of orange, but they have the green in it. But I think that there is ones that have more of that blush color. That's the kind I would add to this one to keep that color scheme. And the cool thing, let me show you the cool thing about flax. Flax is the coolest thing because you can do anything with flax. You can strip it and make it thinner. You can make it like this. And this is the cool part. You take your handy dandy stapler and you make any shape you want. Okay, let's say you want to put this one over here.
Oh, so that's how you did that.
So you could, you don't want to put any more, but this is how you could do it.
Oh,
A stapler is a very good thing. That's how I made these. I stapled them together. Okay? We have this one. See how the blue
really pops.
makes it pop, huh? Do you see the line? I put this in here to strengthen the line, because the line was too weak. So you have it, right? Okay. Now I have some miniatures. I'm going to show you some really cool ways to do miniatures. Okay. So here, I have this little Asian thing, and I have the little rod. So you could do Asian-inspired. Like I said, I went by Baldo's today, got some really nice miniatures. So the Asian-inspired one went to my azalea plant. Either that, you know what does really good for vintage too is Japanese maple. Some of those Japanese maple have this tiny leaves.
The palmy one.
Yeah. But sometimes there's like, it's too many leaves. So you gotta kind of give it like a little haircut. So there's more, on modern, always open spaces. Always open air spaces. Open, 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 open. Or what they call negative space. See how this has a negative space? Negative space. Not too much. So, these are always complicated to get stuck. You can take a little piece of a plastic straw and cut it, put this in there with a little oasis in the middle. It makes it stand up. It's like a tip of trick. You know, a straw, cut off this, put the straw, push it into oasis. So that has oasis inside it. Cut it off, and then it'll hold. And sometimes, you know, your branch, this one's gonna hold, but sometimes it won't. So that's a little trick to do.
Are you gonna put water in there?
Yeah, I would, it's doing it for real. I don't put the water in until I get it done. The big one, this goes down. Kind of wanted at an angle if I can get it there.
Are you trying to do something like a stage syndrome?
The Asian one does have three, the Asian inspired, which we used to call Oriental manner, has, usually this kind has the three different sized loom. So, yeah, you could call them the different stages, but that's, you guys get the example, right? This would be the, you know, one, and then the 3. And of course, you put water in there. So this is a miniature. And here's another idea for a miniature. Take a flax leaf and make a design, and I stapled it, right? This oasis. This is a, you know, for a votive candle, and I just spray painted it. You can buy them at the, you know, the Dollar Tree store, you know.
Is black usually the best color to use?
Yeah, everything, or gray, or depending on your theme or the color of your rose. But black kind of goes, you know, does go with a lot of things because it kind of blends in, so it's easy to use. I've used like a matte gray before, and of course we were doing an abstract or something like that. spray paint this black or gray, whatever. This has just come off my Downy, top of my Downy bottle. And put a thing in it. And this needs, after I already cut this, I noticed this needs to be a little bit taller, about an inch taller, because remember it's 2/3, 1/3. But just be careful, because I have done it before. Let's say it's 9 inches or 10 inches. Just make sure you
Stay within that guideline.
stay within that guidelines, because sometimes they will look at it and go, oh, that's a little bit too tall. It's not working. It's not the right color.
Better.
Might have a little bit, see, it's a little bit busy. There's a little bit too many of,
Too many hips?
yeah, too many hips. So I might go and prune.
You normally trim your oasis to be at the width of.
No. And that's what I was saying. Maybe on the some designs, but if you put it over the top, then you can put stuff on the side and you can humiliate. If I had, okay, I'll show you. When it's up like that,
You have to
maybe
hide.
my, yeah, you can then put into it. If it's just right at the top,
Oh.
then you can. Let's give it too much, but- See how that hangs over like that? You can't get it to hang over like that unless you have it up.
I see, the angle of.
Yes, otherwise you have to, then you always have to put it in like this. When it's up like this, you can put it in the side. See? See? I love this. I love this. This is a Renegade?
No, that's Sweet Revenge.
Oh, Sweet Revenge. I really like this one.
It's a winner,
It's a winner. And the color.
and it's always in blue.
The color is really, really good. It looks really good with the. This is going out of the line of the design. See how it makes your eye go out like that when that piece was on there? Make your eye go out of the design. You don't want.
Yes, now I see.
See how that is? Your eye will go out. This one not so much, but it will go. votive, and you can get wire. There's all different colors of wire. There's all different types of wire. Used to be able to get a Dollar Tree with this, but I didn't find, the China thing was with, here's like a red, green, this green's always good. And then, you know, you can get you can get this at Hobby Lobby or Michael's, Joann's, whatever. You try different things, you know, different colors. You know, you might get by with this with, be a one rose wonder. Just gives a little frame, it's like a little bit of framing, right? And then of course you put stuff down here too. But you guys get the idea,
That goes so fast.
okay?
She's a magician. I know.
This one, I wanted to show you, this one is a transparency. Now, a transparency is part of the design is behind either a screen or something that is like a screen. So I like this stuff, or you could use wire, or I was showing this. It's like a paper thing. It comes in all different colors, and you could, you know, string it up with leaves or with sticks and make it, you know, some kind of shape. And so that's what I did on this one. Part of the design has to be behind, and some of the design has to be in front. So this is kind of a cool container, but it's really dominant. And so I put this leaf like this. Okay, take a aspidiscus leaf. This is a really cool thing. You take the leaf, you lay it like this, it has to be dry, and you take a piece of, what gauge wire is this? Can't read it. 20, 12, 20. What gauge wire is this? Can you read that? Take a piece of wire. It's kind of easily bent wire.
18 inches?
18 inches or 18 gauge? 22 gauge, yeah. 22 gauge, or a thin piece. And you take the leaf, you lay it down your table, you take this, you run it right at the vein. You get some tape, either this kind of clear tape or this paper tape. It's in the pharmacy where the bandages are. Okay? It has nothing to do with floral. I kind of like this. When someone gave me this one, I kind of like it because it's easy to tear. So you put this thing here. You kind of need two hands, and it's really cool. you put it right at the rib. Okay, if you're good at this, try it. I think you should practice this at home before you do demos. Put this on here. Doesn't have to be perfect as long as it doesn't show. Then you take the end of this and you wrap it around this edge, so then it bends. Okay. Then, like this part is called, manipulating. You just take your fingernail and you rip it. Hopefully you rip it kind of evenly, or you start over. You could rip half of it, or you could rip the top part. And when you have it like this, look at how you can do. You can make it go any direction you want it to go. So that makes it kind of cool when you're doing like a modern, because you can make it like I did. See, I did it, and see, let me just stick this part in. And you can make all kinds of different ones. You know, I did this one and everything. You can do it all kinds of.
You have oasis in those holes?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I do. So this is a really good trick that you can do. Plus, the other really thing that I love, you can't live without, glue dots. This is the sacred thing. If a glue dot or piece of wire can't fix it, it's unfixable.
Okay.
Glue dots, they don't hold flax too good. I know people try to do it and they have a tendency to do it. But you can take a glue dot, and look what I did. I made the point stay right here. I glue dotted it. And then when you want something to stick and it's not staying up, I put a glue dot here into the container and on the leaf. Glue dots are good. That and wire. You can fix anything with wire, pretty much. And if you're gentle with it. Especially like these. You could put another piece of wire in this if you wanted it longer. And then you can, this stem, because, these hardly even, these last really good. They don't have to be in that much water. Either there's flax. So, for shows. All right, so, got the transparency. So now traditional. Everybody still doing okay? Traditional, to me, is harder because it's so much foliage, and you kind of have to build the foliage. And a lot of people, beginners like traditional because it's just, straight, and it's easy, because designers in the beginning always put too much stuff, too much foliage and too much thing. So I have this higher, and then you would have the, of course I have two small roses, because with all that foliage and that thick, you need the big roses that you probably get in the spring. And you kind of do, traditional, you do gradation. You can use, just like I have here, and I've seen lots of different people do this now, is you could use different colored red roses. As long as they, you know, were similar. I see people do it in arrangements all the time because it's hard to get like 5 roses of the same thing. So you would put your you put your biggest one in the middle. I don't know if I have kind of a bigger ones. They're all about the same size, but. I kind of build the frame first. That's what I like to do, or they call it the collar. And then start putting my roses in it and then add to it. That's how I personally do it. Oh, another trick is when you are doing a design, if you push it in the oasis and then you take it out, push it in, take it out, you'll have to start all over. What you do, especially if you're doing it out for a show and you're standing in the parking lot, you should cut it off. Don't pull it out and keep putting it in, pull it out. Cut it off so then it doesn't leave a hole in the oasis. Do you know how, like,
You'd cut and
you
make the
cut it
release.
in, yeah. It'd be in the oasis like this, and then you'd cut it like right here. You wouldn't pull it out. And you'd just cut it off, because when you do is you get way too many holes in the oasis, then it doesn't hold.
Yeah. So you leave the piece, a little
You
piece
leave
of
that
stem
little
and-
piece in there.
You leave that little stem in it because it'll hold the oasis. The only problem is you know you want to use that exact hole, but you just want to like a centimeter to the left, so it's. But that's the best way to do it, because otherwise you.
That's a good tip.
Otherwise you get so many holes in there. It
doesn't-
won't. It starts crumbling.
Yeah.
Sometimes you have to cut off the prickles because it won't go in, you know, I don't have a stripper, but if you have a stripper, you can strip these prickles off. Goes into the, especially if you have a little prickly one, goes into the oasis a lot. Like this one's not going because it's getting hung up. I hate it. Traditionals are so, so hard to do. But the judges do love it. They can win best of show really easy because
They all know.
judges like them. Because it's more that traditional look.
And maybe the judges realize they're hard to do.
No. Well,
Okay,
I don't know if it's that. I think it's the traditional way that
Can the roses touch each other?
no, they should have all their own space. they have to have all their own space around them. They like them to have their own, you don't want to smash them up against each other. But I don't have really, I would need a bud here and a bud here, but I don't have that. So that's what makes it hard sometimes about, because you have to have, you know, all these different sized roses. That's why I see a lot of times people use different reds, especially in garden garden.
I noticed at the national shows, some of the ladies wear very intricate dresses when they judge the arrangements.
Why is that?
I don't know. Have you noticed that?
I didn't see that at the one when I went to the thing.
Yeah.
This is not
I
exactly.
have seen that in the East Coast most.
Oh. And another thing is, this is not coming out exactly. It's laying down. And also, so you need another bud out there,
Do,
you know.
I just didn't have enough.
I know. This one's,
You can use the other one that's the stripy one.
yeah, but it's gonna look weird.
Oh, okay.
This one's too big. So you're supposed to have gradation on these, so you'd have one more, that would be like a bud.
And you need an odd number again.
Yes. Odd number. Wait a minute, here, here, this one. This one is, oh my garden, it's Ronald Reagan. But see how that one doesn't really match that good because it's too pink. It's more of a pink red where these reds are.
Looks right to me.
Okay.
This one's not exactly right.
Does it have to be a line or they?
Yes, it has to be a line, and they, for a regular line, they shouldn't touch. They're supposed to have their own, you get the idea. And I also put wire to hold my fern up. I have the fern
Oh, it's wired.
wired. Because these ferns are not anything. There's this wire, it has like kind of material on it.
Oh.
And you know, it kind of blends in with the foliage.
Oh, okay.
Is this the same one that you showed me?
No, it's different.
Yeah, no, this is different.
Wrap wire.
Oh, okay.
So it kind of, because I couldn't get this, because it's leather leaf, and it kind of gets, when you get too much, it gets flat. Then I would put stuff here to hide this, to make it fuller, but don't make it stick out to it, because it's supposed to be a line. Okay, so it would have the gradation. Usually for a plain line, it would be like 5 roses. Now, if you wanted to make this a mass, you'd put some roses, make it fatter in here in the middle with more roses. So you'd probably put at least 3 or 4 more roses in through here, and then leave this part linear, like that. Okay?
Do you grow your own fern?
No, I bought this.
Where do you buy that from?
I go to down at Cal Expo, I go to that floral syndicate or floral, it's a floral place, and we can go. I don't know if the rose people can go, because I can go because we have an account there. It's a wholesale place.
Right.
Because I went to Trader Joe's and tried, and I went to Safeway and I went to Bel Air trying just to get leather leaf fern, and they didn't have it, so I just went down and got it. I mean, Ellie grows it in her backyard.
I have some, I got a.
You can grow it in a pot. But anyway, that's kind of the idea. And the only other one that I was going to show you, I was going to show you how to make a miniature. This is a miniature traditional also. So see how you have the wire? Oh. And it will hold it up. And you don't even see the wire. See this wire in here? Because they don't want them to droop. I got cut off, take a lot of points out because my fern was kind of drooping. And they say it has to be straight out. So you would just do this one the kind of the same way, you know, you have the, you know, the, you'd have to strike these ones for sure.
Where do you get that container?
Oh, this is a really, I can't think of her name a second. This lady gave me it. I went to a district show a long time ago, one of my first ones, the one in San Francisco. And she lives in the Bay Area, but I can't think of her name. She gave me these. She bought them as trophy, and they're really good because she gave me 2 of them. They're heavy. They don't fall over, and they're kind of pretty, you know, they're really pretty, right?
Is this a Japanese lady?
She is Middle Eastern lady. She's so nice. If I heard her name, I would know her. She's from like Monterey.
Yeah, I know who you're talking about.
I know, I can't think
It's
of it.
extremely nice.
Extremely. And she just came up to me at a thing and she goes, do you make miniature arrangements? And I go, yeah. She goes, oh, I have the perfect container for you. I have this container, and then she went and got it for me, and I said, oh my God, that's really nice.
Scored.
Scored. Yeah. I saw her, she was at the San Diego. She was in San Diego because she bought me lunch, and she said, if you teach me how to get back home using Uber, I'll buy you lunch. I said, okay.
Yeah, she went into the auction, and they were auctioning the first hybrid rose, and she spent several $100s on it. It went up to several hundred, and then she got it. Then she turns around and she gives it to me.
Yeah, that's got to be the same lady.
Yeah, she
I
gave
have
it
it
to
in
me.
that phone.
Were you
Bravo.
bidding on it?
Huh?
You were bidding on it?
No. I had no interest in it. But, she was so insistent that I had to have it. I took it off of her hands.
Wow.
And one time I wanted to get abracadabra, I was looking for it. And I asked somebody, and she overheard that, that I wanted abracadabra. So she says, hey, Baldo, I have one of those. give it to you. And then, the next day, she gave me a cutting of abracadabra.
I can look at my phone, I can figure out.
Yeah, she's a really nice lady.
Super nice lady. She hangs out with Anne Murray, which is from that scene. And you would just fill in with the fern. See how you have more of the gradation?
Oh, I see.
And then you,
That's all the same little mini roads. right?
Yes.
So
Yeah, that's
it's
irresistible.
just
that's irresistible.
the gradation of the size.
Yes. For traditional, you always want to have that. Should have to cut this a little smaller. Now, with the traditional, you can use it, this is Ming fern, right? You guys all know about that, right? Stuff's awesome. You can grow it in a pot. I think I've seen it now at, it never used to be at Green Acres, but
They're finally carrying it.
they're finally carrying, because I got mine at,
Burroughs Nursery.
of course, you have to make sure these are all straight.
It's a pretty fern.
Yeah, I know, it really makes it, doesn't it? Gotta be careful about using, this is too foo-foo-y really to use, in modern. And then,
But you told us that, you can't, it has to be in the
yeah, line.
line.
Yeah, what you do is you trim
You
this
can't
out.
come
Yeah, you
over
have to-
like that.
yeah, a little bit, you can be a little bit on the side, but you go, just give it a little bit of haircut. That's the thing about the Ming fern. You can give it a little bit of, this is not my best, but you get the idea, right? I mean, I'd have to play with it and make it a little bit better, but you want the
The center one to be the big one.
big one, and then you want the end ones to be like the buds. You want it straighter, you don't want, the judges don't like the roses, they want to have their own individual taste, space. So sometimes I will sit there and put a leaf or some mink fern in between so that they won't touch. So they'll have their own little spacing around each one of them. But this mink fern is kind of, it's forgiving, so you can kind of see how I have it kind of stuck there. It's not really big, it's not really in the water, but it will be okay, they won't be able to tell. And so you don't want a bunch of things, you want it to be definitely aligned, and you can't have it to be too fat. Sometimes I have a tendency to get mine too fat
So how
up
do you
here.
exhibit this? That way?
Yeah, that's right. You'd probably put this, I have a little bit wider. This is not straight.
So that's the way you,
They don't like it like this,
okay.
usually. Or you cut it to it like sideways.
Yeah, so like an angle.
Yeah, like an angle.
Yeah.
So, I think that's about it.
Well, thank
I
you.
don't know what else does anybody have any other questions about?
Wow.
So, see, I hope I try to give you guys ideas, and that it's not, I know I probably make it look harder than it is. It's just kind of working with it and playing with it, and, I know you guys have a lot of horticulture to do, but maybe you could try just doing one little one or a miniature or something like that. That's why we did the one rose thing. I'm sure we'll do that again. Well, thank you very much, and I hope you.
Thank you.